Wow. Circus Caballero. That sounds fun. Especially how that guy says it. Circus Caballero. Wow. I want to do those commercials next. Hey, good morning. How are you? How are you doing, Santa Clarita? Welcome in. It's good to have you. So happy that you're here. So happy that I'm here. So happy that Engineer Jen's here. It is good to have you. I'm looking around Main Street, and it is beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere in town. You know what? Maybe we just scratch our guess, and I'll just sing a cappella this morning. That'll be great. No. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that. Boss will get mad. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We should probably drop our tagline, right? You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. We're already off the rails this morning. I am Matt Watson, and this is SCVi and iLead Schools, Eye on the Valley. That is right. Our show, Eye on the Valley, is brought to you by SCVi and iLead Schools, a network of charter schools with free public charter school campuses in Castaic, Agua Dulce, Lancaster. We've got a beautiful home study program, and we've got a burgeoning homeschool program. Our our online school. We're going to be talking online this morning. Our online school is growing in leaps and bounds. It's every time I check, our numbers are going up. You know, families are starting to realize that they've got educational choices out there, and with the kind of diversification, kids getting real busy with different things going on. Families are looking for flexibility. They're looking for different options, and iLeadonline is an amazing option for students and families. We're going to be talking iLeadonline this morning, but yeah, we've got an option regardless of what your child needs. We've got something for you. Like I said, campus-based 8 to 3 kind of thing, or home study if that's your jam, hybrid, or online. You can learn more about any of our schools at iLeadschools.org. That is iLeadschools.org for everything in a high-quality, free public education that you need, open to anyone throughout Southern California. So, yeah, we've got our eye on education here in Santa Clarita and across the nation. But like the show says, we keep our eye on the Valley as well, bringing you everything that you need to know about what's what here in the Valley. And we do so while trying to put a smile on your face because, you know, our show is every Friday morning, 8 to 10 a.m., and we like to help you ease into that weekend, kind of keeping your eyes open about what's going on in the Valley and giggling and chuckling. You know, the grind does include Friday, TGIF, but we like to get you ready for the weekend. So join us, won't you? Stick around for a couple of hours and enjoy our show. We've got an amazing show for you. Yeah, it is beginning to look a lot like Christmas indeed. Have you been down to Main Street yet? It is gorgeous down here, and they're going to light it up tomorrow night. They are going to light this place up. You're going to want to be there. We'll talk more about that when we talk to Mayor Gibbs all about it later on this morning. That's right. The mayor will be here. He's coming in. That's in hour number 2. But you're not going to want to miss hour number 1 either. In our first hour, we've got Samin Davari. Samin works with iLeadonline. I was just talking about them, providing families with great online options for a high quality, get this, TK, transitional kindergarten through 12th grade online. How do they do that? You're going to find out. It's a pretty amazing program. And then later on, we've got Greg Lemley. That's right. Greg Lemley is the owner and operator of Lemley Theaters, and yes, that's how you say it. We found that out the last time Greg was on. They're actually looking for a few good artists, or maybe just one great one. And more on that a little bit later on in hour number 1. And don't forget about Big T. Yeah, you forgot about Dre, but don't forget about Big T. Big T gets a little butthurt when we forget about him. He's got some trivia and some general tomfoolery for us. It's gonna be great this morning. So you found the right place. Stick around. Let's do this. My first guest this morning, like I said, is Samin Davari. Samin has been with iLead for it's been almost a decade now, Samin. And she's now a leadership resident with iLeadonline. She previously served iLeadonline as a lead facilitator coach, science facilitator, team lead, and AP coordinator. She's an experienced educator who has established herself as an expert in both primary and secondary education. She holds a master's degree focused in education from USC Roser School of Education and a single subject teaching credential in chemistry. The consummate professional who holds her students to high standards while providing them with the deepest levels of care and support. Samin is the type of teacher that every parent wishes their kids had year after year. Samin, good morning and welcome to Eye on the Valley.
Good morning, Matt. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm so excited that the holidays are just around the corner. There's a chill in the air this morning, and I'm fired up, Samin, and I'm super excited that you're joining us as well. Samin, as I mentioned, you've been with us for, can you believe it's been almost a decade now? So can you share a little bit about your career before you came to iLead, and then tell us a little bit about your journey and your evolution within our organization?
Yeah. So I've actually been with iLead most of my career. Just before iLead, I was a part of another small charter, Valley International Prep, but that was only for a couple of months.
Okay.
And then I transitioned to working with iLead since then.
Fantastic. And so you moved over to iLead, and you've held, as I mentioned, multiple positions. Talk to me about where you started with iLead and how you've grown with our organization and with iLeadonline.
Yeah, so I originally started working with iLead as an on-site facilitator. I taught chemistry and really other sciences too. I think it was earth science and food science as well. That's right. And it was interesting. As a teacher, when most schools don't give kids an opportunity to have a say in their education, it was like strange, weird. So at first I was like, is this defiance? Like, the kids don't want to do this. But, give them a little flexibility. And it became like a democratic classroom. Like, these are the things we're going to cover. How would you like to learn them? How do you like best? And that really, it was hard, but it really helped me become a better educator and just learn to be flexible and adjust on the fly. And then shortly after that, I joined iLeadonline, and that was a great experience, very different. I work with a very creative team. So sometimes, like the first year, my coworker Pamela would call me and say, this learner is in a facility or has these needs, and this course is not going to work for them. What can you do to fit their needs so that they can still successfully complete their course? And that was a different adjustment period because, in an online classroom, kids are working at different paces. They're doing different things. So I learned to become flexible with that and learn how to make those adjustments to fit those types of learners' needs. And then eventually I started doing more courses, and I became full-time with iLeadonline. We do online science. We do in-person science field trips or labs, and those have always been fun. And I grew the department to eventually become the lead. And then from there, I grew that to working to support teachers, facilitators directly, so that they can learn to be flexible. Because when you come to a school like iLead from a traditional school, there's a really big learning curve, and it can be hard to adjust. And if you don't have the right tools to learn how to do it, it can make your first year or second year really difficult. And now I've grown into leadership resident, kind of supporting all facilitators and coaches while still directly working with families to hear and listen to them and, see what I can do to help fit their educational needs.
Yeah, and I want to get into your role as leadership resident a little bit, but Samin, I almost want to kind of hit pause and just ask producer Sarah to grab the last minute and a half of what you've been sharing, because I don't know that anybody has really nailed what iLeadonline does the way you just did, talking about how not only are you providing an education online, but just doing whatever it takes to meet the needs of each individual learner. And that really is why we call our educators facilitators rather than teachers, because, teachers have their course of study, their syllabus, they present it and move on. But you all work so hard to make sure the individual needs, whatever they are, of your learners, your students, make sure that they get met. And so, I mean, that is just beautiful. A great synopsis of what you all do. But can you go a little bit deeper into that role of leadership resident? I've told folks that it's kind of similar to the role of assistant principal, and I know that you really are kind of the right hand of school director Kate Wolf. But what is it that you do on a regular basis? What are you responsible for as leadership resident at iLeadonline?
Yeah, so it is similar to an assistant principal role. However, being an online school, we don't really deal with I feel like some assistant principals are like deans. We don't have disciplinary issues.
There's not a whole lot of fights in an online school,
really
is there, Samin?
No, there's not. And that's not really what I do.
Okay.
Even with if there's an instance of truancy, or there is an instance where a learner is having difficulty, it's really just a conversation. I call their team of people who support them, and that's a lot of the times the coach role. So we hold a support meeting and we talk to them, we hear them and their parents on what's going on. And I can give a really good example of that in a second.
Okay.
And then we just go back to what can we do to make this fit your needs while still meeting, all the other needs we need to meet, like state requirements and making sure you pass and are successful in the next step of your life. So a lot of it is just listening. I feel like some parents and students just feel like they aren't always heard in an education setting. I talk about now my daughter is in a public school, and I often connect when I feel unheard, I don't have a problem telling her principal, pause, you need to listen to me. And she does, because she knows I'm also an educator. But it's really hard to navigate the parent side a lot of the time. So I just feel like sometimes parents, especially new families, just want to be listened to and heard so that they feel like they're a part of the process. And of course, we're not just listening, we're also taking actionable steps to meet their needs. So that's a big part of what I do. Another part of my role is supporting our facilitators who are content area experts in just, teaching them that skill, that flexibility. What happens if a learner comes in now in November and they don't have transfer grades? What happens if a learner comes in now but they're not necessarily passing that class? How can we adjust and modify things so that, one, it's not overwhelming for them, two, we don't add to the trauma of transferring schools so late, and three, they still are able to finish the course successfully without feeling overwhelmed. And then we also have something like the coach, as we call a coach role. They're really I like to call them the concierge of education for each child.
Yeah.
They're really the ones that work directly with the families. Which courses do you need? What modifications do you feel would best help support your learning journey? And just really then the coaches take that information and, relay it to the facilitators, to me, so that we can all come up with the best plan for that individual child. So I support them as well, because sometimes there's a lot of back and forth. It takes a long time to develop these plans and truly make them feel individualized.
Samin, Sydney Morrison, legendary educator and author Sydney Morrison. He once said that if a child is not learning the way we're teaching, then we need to teach the way the child can learn. And y'all really exemplify that at iLeadonline. We're talking with Samin Davari, leadership resident at iLeadonline, free public charter school. Samin, online learning is not a new phenomenon anymore. Online schools have been around for a number of years, but there's nothing quite like iLead Online. You touched on it when you described what your role was as you were teaching, as you were a facilitator for those science courses. But you and your team really have set out to differentiate yourselves at iLead Online. Can you talk to us about kind of the model and the philosophy, how it rolls out? What makes iLead Online so unique, even in the space of online learning? Because it's not just students sitting alone, doing work independently, click, click, test, right? You guys are very, very different.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely not. So we kind of just oddly check off every single box. Yes, if you want to work on your classes asynchronously, you can and just work through them independently and chug away at it. Yes, you can join live instruction hours and ask for help and work directly with your teacher. I know when I taught chemistry, a lot of kids popped in because there's a lot of moving pieces in chemistry, and they were just like, Miss, I need help. And I was like, yep, that's what I'm here. So our facilitators offer 2 hours of either live instruction or office hours every week. Our coaches offer 2 hours a week where they're really focused on building community for the kids on their roster. We also have tutoring hours that learners can sign up for. We have in-person events in February. We're going to the aquarium, and it's not just a guided tour of the aquarium, it's a lab also. Kids are going to be dissecting some pretty cool specimens and working through that. I know that we have a trip to the OC Zoo coming up, which is also a guided tour, but there'll be some hands-on activities. We have a bowling night. We try to offer like social events once a month. We have a bowling night in December coming up for our high school students. And beyond that, sorry, I'm not feeling well.
I'm sorry.
Beyond that, we're offering, we try to offer at least 1 or 2 events every month where it's either a social event or an educational event. I'm working with every department right now to see if we can do departmental trips where the history team goes on a history field trip and the English team goes to maybe a poetry reading. So offer a lot of opportunities for socialization and in-person or live interaction as well.
You know, Samin, I was attending, y'all hosted a virtual open house last night, and I was hearing a lot about some of those in-person events and things like that, because oftentimes families will think, online school, that means my kid is never going to interact with other children his or her age, and they're going to be on the computer all day long. Y'all are really the antithesis of that. You work your hardest to get kids off of the computer and interacting with their learning and making sure that they have opportunities to meet with other learners their age. I know last night they were talking about beach trips and going ice skating and constantly meeting up. And these are things that parents are getting involved in too. Parents are organizing different events, social events for kids to get together, and academic events for their kids to get together. It is really, like I said, a very exciting style of learning. We're going to talk more about it when we get back. Samin Davari, leadership resident with iLead Online, is joining me this morning. When we get back, like I said, we'll go into a little bit more in depth, including what a day in the life of a student at iLead Online looks like and how you can enroll your child. Stay tuned. I'm Matt Watson, and you're listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. Engineer Jen, I'm going to do a better job of keeping to the script this time. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. My guest this morning is Samin Davari. Samin is a leadership resident with iLead Online. Wait. I say iLead Online, an online school. It's not what you're thinking. If you weren't listening to the first break, you got to hear Samin describe this school. It's absolutely amazing, and yeah, might be just what your child is looking for. So it is a TK through 12th grade. You better believe it. Kindergartners are growing, flourishing, and learning to read online at our free public charter school. But I digress. Samin, So you mentioned that you started as a teacher. We call our teachers facilitators because, as you so eloquently described in the first break, we put the education in the hands of the learners, and y'all just kind of set them up for success and step aside and make sure they have everything they need. So tell us what subject and grade level you taught when you were a facilitator.
Yeah, so I mainly taught high school chemistry, but I've also, dipped into earth science and food science. That's originally my background before I was a teacher. So I've kind of taught them all at this point, but my space is the ninth through 12th grade.
All right. So at heart, a high school teacher, fantastic. And I know, like I described in your bio, you really were and still are that educator that every parent wishes their child had year after year, which is a great thing that you're now a leadership resident, so that you have the opportunity to impact every single learner in our school. So how different is it what are the similarities, the differences being a teacher of an online course versus being in person in class? Is it different for the teacher? Is it different for the students? Can you compare the two?
It's really different on the teacher perspective. There are learners that like I said previously, some learners might just want to work through the course independently and finish. There are learners that successfully can finish the course and they don't ever email me or need my support or interact with me. And they just finish it and they close out their grade. And then I have learners who, like I said, come to my office hours and really build that connection. They ask for help. And then I have some learners who just are genuinely interested and want to build like more of a social connection with me. So they'll email me and just chat with me and connect, or just drop in to say hi. And that was really sweet. And that was the biggest adjustment for me coming to an online setting, just not getting to really know every student unless they wanted to use the opportunities that we have built in for them. Versus when I was an on-site teacher for iLead, every learner that walked through the door, tried my best to make some connection with them. And it was just an adjustment because it made me realize everybody learns differently and not every learner might need that interaction to complete the course. And that's okay. And on the learner end, it's really different because in an on-site school, everybody is working on the same lesson or the same activity at the same time with their class, maybe different periods or on different schedules, but each class is doing the same thing. In an online class, you can have some learners still working on a project from block one, which is really like early on in the course, and you could have some learners now working on the final project. And the learners on block one are not necessarily behind. They may have chosen to pace out their classes differently by working on one class at a time. They may have been busier earlier in the year. I do have some learners that are in professional sports, and their parents just communicate to me, hey, September and October, we can't really focus on the curriculum. However, we're done with our tournaments mid-October. And then, he always dives in November and December, and he's always finished his grades. He's always been successful at completing them, so don't worry. And I try to build those into my notes so that when I check in with those families, I never send emails saying, hey, you're failing. But I say, hey, I noticed you still haven't started the course, or you're still on block one. What's going on? What can I do to help you? So I make notes of these things so that I don't send those emails. And I just say, hey, I know you're still, traveling with your team. Just letting you know, I'm still here if you need help. And when you want to jump back into the course and when you're done traveling, we can make a customized pacing plan so that you have something to keep you on task without feeling overwhelmed. So it just allows for a lot more individualization. And like, really, if you have a class of 50 chemistry students, they're all working on different things. Those are just the kids on different pacings. And then I have learners that may not like the way some assignments and projects are set up. So their coach will contact me and say, hey, my learner doesn't really like these activities. They don't work well for her. Do you have another virtual lab or another project that they could do that still meets the same standards? Luckily, I've been a chemistry teacher long enough to have like a bank of assignments, so I usually do. And when I don't, I can just work with the coach directly to find things that fit that learner's needs. And then, so then sometimes they're even working on different assignments. It's just so many different things are happening. I can only think of these examples.
No, that's fine. You really hit home how it is a customized experience based around the needs of each and every learner, each and every student in your courses. You did mention how closely you work with each student's coach. Can you describe the role? Because each of our students at iLeadonline is assigned a coach who really does guide them through all of their classes. So they have their subject area facilitators and then they have their coaches. Can you describe the role of a facilitator versus a coach? How do the two interact with each learner?
Yeah, so the facilitator is the subject area expert. Think of like your Spanish teachers, your chemistry teachers, your English teachers. And then they're the ones who know most about the content, and they can come up with individualized projects or alternate assignments to fit the learner's needs. But the coach is, like I said, is kind of like the concierge. She's the one that will communicate between the learner and really advocate for the learner. Because if the learner goes to the facilitator and says, I don't like this project, I don't want to do it, it's not always communicated so well. And this is where the coach really just steps in and says, my learner doesn't want to do this project for X, Y, and Z, has anxiety, it's really lengthy, they might be an actor on set. It could be any reason, and all of those reasons are valid to me. And they will say, like, can we come up with an alternative that hits the same content standards? And it's okay. Even if the reason is I don't like this project, I think that's absolutely okay, because we have adults that may not always like certain things they're doing. And as adults, we get to pick and choose what we do. And I think learners should have that same, flexibility given to them. So the facilitator will then work with the coach to swap it out. And the only reason it's okay is because we have the facilitator who's the content area expert that's making sure that whatever alternate assignment or coursework is given to the learner is still hitting the standards, hitting the state requirements, and anything else they need to be meeting for that course. Like for science, we always have to make sure that we're still offering 20% labs. So the coach's role is just to really advocate for the learner. I actually had the honor, I want to say, of experiencing what it's like to be a coach this year. We just had a tick in our enrollment, and we didn't have room on rosters. And in places we had room on our rosters, we didn't want the coaches to feel overwhelmed because they had recently received a lot of new learners too. And the beginning is really where it's busy. And I obviously don't want my coaches to feel overwhelmed, but I also want the families to get the attention that they deserve. So I stepped in. I said, you know what? I've never experienced what it's like to be a coach. It's my job to work and support everyone. And it would give me better understanding and insight into the coach's role if I knew what they did. Because I was a chemistry teacher, so I was on the facilitator side. So I stepped in, I took on a very small roster, does not even compare to the amazing work our coaches do all the time. And really the whole process was eye-opening. So the coaches, before the learner is even enrolled, they will meet with them, they will hear the family's needs, what they're looking for in education, where they're coming from. In high school, it's about making sure we have transfer grades, Are they credit deficient? Where do they need the most support? And then from there, it's thinking about creative plans, like how can we help them get caught up on credits if they're credit deficient? And just meeting with the family, hearing about what track they are in. Do they want to go to college? Because you know what? That's not for everybody. And I also feel like that's okay. Like, what are their goals? And from there, they'll work on their initial class schedule and put them in their classes. And then before the learners in their classes, they'll reach out to the facilitators for those courses and say, hey, this is the situation. This is what the family needs the most. What can we do to meet their needs? And then there's communication. And honestly, for my learners, the communication between me and the facilitator took a week or two.
Yeah.
Well, can we adjust this? But are we still meeting the standards? And this learner on the UC plan, which is important because if they are, then we want to make sure that they hit those requirements too. And it's just a lot of communication back and forth, but good, positive communication. And then by the time the learners in their Brightspace courses, the facilitators have already adjusted those courses to meet their needs.
Samin, I've got to jump in here, but 8 years ago when iLeadonline was founded, we were founded on that driving question of how can we support individual learners in getting a completely personalized and engaging high-quality education, but in an online platform. And over the last 8 years, y'all at iLeadonline really have developed that. It is absolutely amazing. Samin Davari, leadership resident with iLeadonline. Samin, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know you're feeling a little under the weather, so we really appreciate it. I tell you what, Samin, you wrap up today's work and you know what? Take the next week off. All right. You enjoy your Thanksgiving. Have a wonderful week. For more information on how you can enroll your child in this free public online school, check us out at iLeadonline.org. iLeadonline.org. If you'd like a little bit more information, we're actually having another virtual information night on November 30th. You can sign up for that, again, at iLeadonline.org. We're going to be talking about Laemmle Theater and an amazing opportunity for you artists out there when we get back. I am Matt Watson. You're listening to SCVi and iLead Schools Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is your host, Matt Watson, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead Schools Eye on the Valley. My next guest today is Greg Laemmle, and he's brought a friend along with him today. Greg and his father, Robert, own and operate a whole group of family-run art house movie theaters here in Southern California. Robert's father, Max, and Uncle Kurt, cousins actually of Universal Pictures founder Carl Laemmle, bought their first movie theater in the Highland Park neighborhood of Los Angeles in 1938. Today, there are 7 Laemmle locations around Southern California: Claremont, Glendale, Santa Monica, West Los Angeles, Encino, North Hollywood, and the beautiful Laemmle Theater 7 here in downtown Newhall. And as I mentioned, Greg brought his good friend, Jenny Shadle from the city of Santa Clarita. Jenny's a friend of Eye on the Valley. We're so glad you're back, Jenny. Jenny, Greg, welcome back to Eye on the Valley.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you very much.
Of course, Greg. It's been a minute since we've had you here on Eye on the Valley. In fact, I think the first time you were in was the grand opening, the day of the ribbon cutting, because you weren't busy enough that day, so we figured we'd have you here in studio to talk about Laemmle Theaters. So, how have you and the family of theaters enjoyed being part of Santa Clarita?
Oh, we love being part of Santa Clarita. It's terrific.
So
it's been an interesting period for exhibition. As you recall, the day we opened the Newhall 7 was also the day that we reopened all our theaters after the COVID closure. So
it was a ribbon cutting and a ribbon recutting for the other 6 theaters. So, Greg, I want to jump right into this amazing opportunity that you've just announced. You've sent out a call for artists to submit mural proposals for that back wall of the building. Theaters, you've got multiple stories, and so you've got a huge back facade there in your building here in Newhall, facing Railroad, gets tons of traffic, so why not beautify it a little bit? Can you or Jenny, share a little bit more about what it is that you're looking for?
Greg, I'll let you go first since you know what you're looking
I
for.
mean, we're
I
looking
could do
for someone who can paint some murals on the wall.
Okay.
That's true.
And as you say, make it. Look, it's a theater building, and there's not a lot that we can do to change that. And it's just a big blank wall, and we would love to see something up there that's going to make it look a little prettier and be an asset for the community.
Yeah, to really reflect the brand of Lemley Theater as
Okay.
well as Old Town New Hall in this area. It is a large space. There's actually two spaces that this mural could be placed on, a 38 by 20 and a 41 by 20 foot in height and width on the side of the building. It is a large space for a muralist to come out and do something really beautiful for the area and for the Lemley Theaters.
So coincidentally, while I was poking around online this morning, I noticed somebody commenting on your call for artists, and it sounds like you've already sort of answered what their question was. So Mariana, shout out to Mariana, she was asking, are you wanting an actual artsy look, or are you looking to kind of consolidate the building into the natural landscape, kind of like the city's done with the power boxes around town? You kind of those eyesore big 4-foot power boxes. A lot of local artists have painted those to kind of blend in with the natural landscape of our city. So are you looking for something that's going to stand out a little bit more? You said kind of more along the branding of a movie theater, that artsy theater that Lemley offers. That's what you're looking for?
Look, I have a lot of respect for artists and the artistic process, and the last thing I want to do is, dictate what someone's going to put up there. Right now we want to know that we can find people who are interested in doing this, what their experience is in painting murals, so that we know if, do they have the ability to actually complete the work. But what it looks like, or, what the theme is, we're kind of mute at this point. We want to see what people want to put up there.
Yeah, that creativity and innovation is, I think, what the Lemley Theater and Greg is looking for at this time. So there isn't a kind of conceptual, this is what it needs to be. We're accepting, or he's accepting, applications and for the next 20 plus days, and can look at all of the artists that submit their proposals and kind of work from there and see what kind of best fits for the area, for the theater, and for our community.
I love that. Kind of let the artist be an artist and bring some proposals. So, gosh, that's beautiful. I know artists do not like to be shackled by, okay, so I want cats with lasers coming out of their eyes. And,
Yes.
It's, you be you, you're the artist. Show us what you
It does not
want.
have to be movie themed. I mean, the area,
Okay.
the area has a very rich history, although it does include a history of movie making. But
does.
we just bring it.
Okay,
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, we're excited to see what comes. I've been doing
Yeah.
public art process for many years now, and it is so fascinating to see the various takes on what your call is asking for and what someone brings into it. And I'm going to say you're surprised every time. Every time I'm like, oh, that is such a something I wouldn't even thought of, or something that definitely would go to the community. So I think Greg is going to be very happy with the submissions that will come in.
Absolutely. So the call for proposals is open now, and Jenny, you said the deadline is in 20 days. So folks have got a little bit less than 3 weeks to get their proposals in. So get those creative juices flowing. Any of you artists that want to send in a proposal and get it sent in over the next 20 days. So you kind of narrow it down to some semifinalists, and then after semifinalists are selected, the artists who are those semifinalists they're going to be compensated for their time to create a full proposal, or is it just the winner?
Correct. So our process is submit the artwork that you have already done to show us what your skills are, what your talent is, and what your kind of design style is. Everybody has all artists have like a certain design style. Sure. From that, Greg and his team will choose a few semifinalists to ask them to do a proposal to actually now make the artwork that would be on the side of the wall, with a little guidance of like, here's what our community is, here's what Lemley Theater is, here's what Downtown New Hall or Old Town New Hall is. And then from those proposals, we will choose and then refine what is the best for that building and for that area.
A true collaboration. I love that. So So 20 days is the deadline to submit your proposal. Then you're going to narrow it down based on artist style and then ask the artist to bring forth a proposal. They'll be compensated for that. How amazing. That doesn't always happen.
Right.
And then do you have a timeline? I know the artist is obviously going to take a while to complete their work. Do you have a timeline for when the mural might be unveiled to the community?
At this point, we don't have a timeline.
Okay.
2024. Can I say that? Am I allowed to say just a year?
Sure. Yeah, next year.
Next year.
Sounds good.
Can't be this year. But yeah, next year it'll probably be unveiled at that time.
Okay, very similar to what happens in the movie industry, right? We've got this idea for a movie. It's coming out sometime next year.
Yes, there you go.
All right. So if artists are listening or somebody that knows an artist is listening, where can anybody who might be interested get more information? Where do they go? What do they do?
They can go to, I believe, various areas to find it, but SantaClaritaArts.com. We have the call on that website. This also callforentry.org. You can go directly to Cafe, which is the leading online application service for all public art, and find the Lemley Theater Mural project, as well as many other projects if you're an artist that is looking to do public art out there.
Oh, cool. So you said SantaClaritaArts.com, and then was that second one callforentry.org? .org.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah. I'm going to ask producer Sarah to drop those links in our Facebook Live feed so that you can either pick it up right now live, or if you're catching the podcast, you can head over to KHTS's Facebook page and find the recording of our show and get those links. But again, it's SantaClaritaArts.com or callforentry.com for all the information on this amazing experience.
Correct. Thank you so much.
All right, cool. And Greg, it's been a tough go for theaters. You know, you kind of opened as we were coming out of the pandemic. Here in downtown Newhall, also the day you sort of reopened, which was a challenging time. But, you know, the last decade or so has really been a challenging time for theaters everywhere with the growth of streaming entertainment. Has it? You've been successful despite those challenges. What do you owe that success to? Because you're growing in a time you would think that local theaters would be contracting.
Look, people love going to the movies. I mean, and we're seeing that, you know, throughout this process. 2020, well, we closed 2020, so that was obviously difficult. 2021 was a difficult year, you know, restarting things. But, you know, since December of 2021 and the opening of the Spider-Man No Way Home, we've seen some record-breaking movies. I mean, we've had top 10 box office hits of all time with Spider-Man No Way Home.
Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson, your host, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. Gosh, we've already had just an absolutely amazing show. Started with Samin Davari. She is an administrator with iLeadonline, free public online charter school, TK through 12. Yes, your kindergartner can learn to read and read well. Jeannie McNiff's doing great things with our online platform. We also had Greg Lemley from Lemley Theaters and Jenny Shadle from the city, as a matter of fact, in here talking about an opportunity for muralists to paint the back building of the Lemley Theater there. We did have to cut them short, and again, my apologies to Greg and Jenny, but check it out at SantaClaritaArts.com. If you're an artist, your opportunity to create a beautiful mural that faces all the traffic here on Railroad Avenue here in Old Town Newhall. But, you know, I'm joined now by one of my favorite guests. He is our city's mayor. He's now 3 years into his first term on the Santa Clarita City Council, and his first go-around as mayor is about to come to a screeching halt.
Yep.
But, you know, even before being elected to the City Council, Jason Gibbs built an impressive career as a mechanical engineer. In fact, he's principal engineer of West Coast operations with GP Strategies Corporation, an aerospace company, doing some amazing things. Jason grew up in the beautiful Santa Barbara area, graduating from Bishop Diego High School before he headed up the 101 to attend Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, a university that said to myself after high school, thank you, but no thank you. And then Jason went on to earn his master's degree in mechanical engineering. He and his wife Chandra decided to move down to Santa Clarita in 2012, where Jason quickly got involved volunteering on boards and programs such as the Boys and Girls Club Advisory Board, an organization with whom he's still actively involved, as well as Family Promise of Santa Clarita and VIA, the Valley Industry Association. Mayor Gibbs, welcome back to Eye on the Valley.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Well, that guy sounds pretty impressive. Now sitting back and hearing it all.
He, as we talked about during the commercial, he used to be. Yeah. I was checking our records. We haven't had you on Eye on the Valley since you were first installed as mayor in early January of this year. So now we're coming up on the end of your term as mayor. So how you feeling about the year and what you and your colleagues have accomplished in 2023?
Sure. It was a fast year, an exhausting year, but a great year in a lot of ways. And, a lot of people say, Jason, like you said, it's coming to a halt, and we'll do our changeover in December, and a new mayor will be coming in. I'm ready.
Fantastic.
I'm ready for it.
You're ready to.
I tried to forget that I had a day job for the first 9 months of this year, and then my company reminded me, no, you still do. And so that coupled with doing all the work with being the mayor and working for the city and then raising 2 little ones, something was getting ready to give. So I loved it. It's been amazing. I get to have my picture on the wall of mayors with some incredible leaders of this community. But I'm ready for someone else to do it.
You brought it up. It's something that I've wondered for quite a few years, as a matter of fact, because, being a city council member, you certainly keep very, very busy. But then when you're mayor, kind of captaining the city council, of course, you work in close collaboration. But you're really expected to be the face and be at all the ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings and important events. And being a father of young kids like you are, I learned how you do that. You've got an amazingly patient wife. Ooh, she's got to be married to a guy like you.
Well, yes. Very short answer, yes.
I have wondered how you and the rest of the folks on the city council kind of manage a very demanding professional career along with the demands that pull on you really 24/7 as mayor.
They do. So it's really twofold, Matt. We're fortunate that in our positions, how much time that you put into the extracurriculars, into the events and the community things, it's really up to you as an individual. Because we are so fortunate to have an incredible city manager and staff who look, we get to sit there and dream of all the things we want. Mm-hmm. It's their job to do it. And so we get to take credit for the production, but we get there to dream it. So, as mayor, yes, a lot of people, and I love doing this as part of our state of the city. The big thing was going around into the community. I was dressed up as Doc Brown from Back to the Future and asking people like, hey, can you tell me who's on the city council or who the mayor was? And they don't know. And it's a very fascinating thing. It's one, it doesn't get me too depressed because I always say if people know who you are in politics, you got a problem. Because they typically don't know who you are for good reasons. They know who you are because you're doing something they don't like.
I see.
The majority of
Which would explain my recent rise in popularity.
Dude, everybody knows who you are, Matt, especially after that last meeting. But we'll move on. So when I talk to people, my favorite was I talked to somebody and asked, I'd say, hey, do you know who the mayor of Santa Clarita is? And they said, we have a mayor? And I said, yeah. And I think I've told you this before, but one of my favorite things I've gotten to do as mayor is host Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and do little tours of City Hall, just, usually in the evenings after everyone's left. It's very, one-on-one and personal. And I always did one thing. We'd talk for about 20 minutes and I'd introduce myself and we get into the chambers and I'd ask the question. I'd say, okay, we have a pop quiz. Can you tell me how many people are on the city council? And the kids will stay quiet, but one kid will always all of a sudden look behind me and count the chairs. And they go, are there 5 of you? I said, yes, there's 5. I said, can you name just one city council member? None of them can. I'll sit there and stare at them and say, not one. You haven't
Marshall McLean. It's always a go-to answer.
Haven't met any of them. Always Marshall McLean.
Yeah.
They usually can't. Finally, someone will go, wait, are you on the city council? I said, yes. And then we kind of chuckle and I say, but wait, it gets better. I'll say, parents, can you name the city council, any of the city council members? And then all the parents will start slinking back and ducking down with their coffee and getting out of the way. Uh-huh. And the reason I do that is one, it's funny, but it's also to show that really the community doesn't always know who we are, which makes our jobs even more important to do good work, to continue to do positive things for the people who will never know you, who may never meet you. They may just see your name on a wall somewhere. They may see it on a plaque. They may see it in the newspaper. But if they live in a great community that they love, then you know you're doing the right job, whether you ever hear it from them or not.
I love that. You like to play around a little bit, but
I do.
But there's some good egg in you, so some altruism.
Some
in
good
you.
egg in me, thanks,
Yeah,
Matt.
yeah, definitely. So you're not quite done being mayor. There's still a few weeks left. Is there anything that you'd like to accomplish in this final month or so? Any of those last minute pardons or anything like that?
Last minute, we got mayor pardons.
I don't know. Maybe you could pardon Marley Laufer for her role in nicknaming us Awesome Town. I don't know.
Wait, does Marley get credit for that? I'm gonna talk to Marley tonight
I think
if that's
she was
true.
with Newhall Land and
Well,
Farm.
she was?
When that went down.
The old moniker, it still sticks. We still get people referencing Awesome Town every once in a while.
Well, we are not awesome.
No, we're amazing. We really
Yeah,
are.
we are.
I mean, getting something done before the end of the year? No. I mean, obviously, we'll talk about it a little bit, but the lighting up Main Street that'll happen tomorrow.
Yep.
The big Festival of Trees events that's coming.
All right.
Just getting to Thanksgiving break, getting ready for the holiday, getting the kids through school, and getting a little bit of sleep is what I'm looking forward to.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, there's no like real big plans. Obviously, the big thing right now is we're all hoping, and we can talk about it, we're all hoping that the transit strike will come to a conclusion before the holidays.
All right.
And allow all of them to get back home and get back to work and get back to their families. So there's a couple of those kind of loose ends that I would consider it, but just keeping things stable, keeping things together, allowing staff to do their work, allowing the council to come and keep moving things forward, and just get to the Christmas holiday and enjoy it.
Yeah, there's a lot that the city's got going on in the holidays.
Always.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's talk about our most recent past holiday last weekend on Veterans Day. As a matter of fact, you spoke at the city's Veterans Ceremony honoring the great men and women of our community who have served, and it always impresses me. I've got to think, I've never looked into the numbers, but we've got a pretty high percentage of folks who have stepped up in our community and said, I will put my life on the line so that you don't have to. And it's, it's been said the greatest thing that one human can do for another is put their life on the line for them. Can you talk to me about what it's like to have the opportunity to address and indeed honor those heroes in our community as the mayor? It's got to be special.
It is. So Veterans Day hits hard for me. Being at the event, there was one special thing that happened is, every year we are getting closer and closer to no longer having any World War II veterans of that greatest generation. And we were so fortunate to have 3 with us here this time. And I believe all of them were right about 100 years old or older now. Wow. And it takes me back to my grandfather who landed at Normandy and marched under Patton, to a man I knew who was very quiet about his time in the service. But I know there was a story of where he was injured before he came home and was one of just a few men in his group that did return. And if he had never returned, I'd never be here. And if our brave men and women don't go and fight for this country and fight evil around the world, we would not have a lot of opportunities that we do. And so it's the one event where it's very special in that regard. I think about an uncle who I never met, Donald Myers, who I did an invocation for one time, who was killed at the Battle of the Bulge. And I think of family members and community members who are in the service. Obviously, with the monument wall that we have honoring veterans that we've lost, we now have Bill Reynolds over there. And, Bill was an amazing man for veterans. The work that he did, the articles that he published to get those stories out, it wasn't just about telling the community you have another veteran here. It was also very cathartic and helpful to a lot of these people who sit on such atrocities and things they don't share.
Yeah.
And so this is that one time a year where we really get to honor some of the people who make this country the amazing place as it is. And to do that as mayor, it really is special. That's one that really sits with you. So it's an absolute honor to do it and to be there with all of them.
Absolutely. And as you alluded to, certainly very, very worthy. And Mr. Reynolds was truly an amazing man, not just in his service, during times of combat and
Yes.
after, but an extremely thoughtful man, and which obviously contributed to what he was able to do in and for his community. I was fortunate enough to be able to meet him as a teenager.
Yeah. Oh,
as,
yeah?
as his son and I were good friends in high school, and he did amazing things for our country and for our community.
What was the movie he did, Matt? Was it The Boys of 67?
Yes. Yeah. It's he was contributed in so many different ways, and was a great guy. So talking about legacy, let's it might be a little bit too early, but have you thought about yours? I mean, you've still got a full month left as mayor and another year as a city council member, and I'm sure you're planning on running again and doing more. But have you taken time to project forward a couple of decades and think, all right, now as your kids are moving off and doing their own things, what you might like your legacy as mayor and council member to be?
That is interesting, man. I think about legacy, but never from a perspective of what am I going to be remembered for as an individual.
All right.
I think about it more as a father and the legacy that I will leave to my kids. But as an elected official, if I'm looking at projects or big dreams for the city, the two big ones that come to mind for me is one, continue to advance some of the outdoor recreation pieces that we have. One of the projects that we put out for design this year, and I believe we're getting the initial design back now, was like the big mountain bike park that we're going to be doing up in Haskell Canyon, and then bringing more like permanent soccer fields and venues to start attracting more of the higher level sports teams, and offering these kids who are in our community. We have some of the most incredible athletes coming out of our schools, and to be able to have some of these venues for them to operate from, I think would be very special for me. The other one is raising a son with autism and meeting more and more of the community that are doing so as well, that have different neurodiverse or physical diverse and disabilities children, and some of the struggles that they have. And typically the struggles is just being able to engage them in the community in a way where they don't feel isolated. And one of the best examples we have is the inclusionary parks that we've done.
Yeah.
So me personally, the legacy of being mayor and being able to cut the ribbon for the park over on the west side, incredible. You know, the slides that have the rolling pins that I always talk about, so you no longer build static discharge if you have cochlear implants, the little merry-go-rounds that are at ground level so that kids on wheelchairs can actually roll up and into them and not be able to just have to sit back and watch, the high back swings that kids in wheelchairs can go on. So we're finding ways to include more of the community, but not at the expense of the community. And I always tell people that's what inclusion really needs to be. When you can provide something that more people can enjoy, but doesn't take away from anybody, it just adds. And so when I look forward in terms of legacy, I want to see the future libraries that we do really focus on inclusionary aspects for the neurodiverse, for the physically challenged kids, the disabled kids, and for kids who maybe have to be homeschooled for various reasons, and providing more resources for those who are being homeschooled or need extra types of tutoring or out of a typical classroom setting.
Sure.
I want to see that integrated into some of the general library system that we do to a bigger extent.
You know, I've got a friend at iLead that can help with that integration. We've got all kinds of learning opportunities.
Yeah,
for
I told
kids
you,
from,
my wife wants me to do a tour with you.
Oh,
I think she wants me to go back to school and try to get more mature. It's not going to happen, but she still wants to do a tour, so we still got to get it scheduled.
all righty. Yeah, we'll have somebody schedule that Billy Madison tour for you.
The Billy Madison
see if
tour.
we can get you enrolled. We're gonna have to apply for a waiver or something like that. But
And then Matt, the other piece I wanted to add to it is in regards to legacy. So
Yeah.
what I always tell people with districts that are coming, and the change kind of in the political landscape that you'll see with elections,
yeah,
there's going to be a change amongst your city council members. We've been very fortunate to have longtime city council members that have provided consistency, balance, and vision, and a staff that has also been very consistent and been allowed to pursue that vision. As I look forward in the next 2 to 3 cycles, we will lose council members, and we will lose probably 2 or 3 of them just through attrition and just through the idea of districts, and we'll start to lose longtime staff who are approaching retirement age. So I definitely think about legacy from a standpoint of whoever comes in next, do they have a vision that encompasses all of Santa Clarita, that isn't just who can vote for me, but realizing that their vote will impact everyone. and who will work hard and continue to support the foundation of Santa Clarita while expanding and bring new pieces.
Wow. Gosh, I'm noticing a common thread, and you and I like to play around, but it's an extremely thoughtful thread and selfless, really, where you talk about that legacy not being so much your legacy, but countless, what are we, Santa Claritans?
Yes.
Who would say in a couple decades, I really grew up in an amazing place, or we really do live in a great city, and that might be your legacy. Very similar to the veterans that we talked about.
Very much so. We as elected officials always need to realize that we're stewards. We're not masters over people. We're not lords over people. We are stewards and given the ability to lead a community for a specific length of time. And obviously that can change any election cycle. But if you approach it as being more than just a person who's there to serve the people in the best way possible, I always worry that you start losing the reality of why you're there as an elected official.
Sure.
And so anybody that says I just want to run to office because I want to be mayor and I want to be on a council member, no, that doesn't interest me.
Well, fantastic. Extremely thoughtful. Like I said, very, very, very selfless. Mayor Jason Gibbs is joining us this morning. When we get back, you referenced a lot of the events going on for the holidays. You're certainly going to be a busy guy because your team at the city has been very busy planning all these different things. I'm talking about you're going to be lighting up Main Street real soon, and the whole city's getting festive. So for more information on that, do stick around. We're also going to play around a little bit. My brother, he wants to call in and goof off.
We still let him call into the show?
Jason, we can't stop him. He fights his way off a hold and just bullies his way into the studio.
And if you tell him no, mom calls, right? I understand. All right.
Can't incur the wrath of mom. So do stick around. More with Mayor Jason Gibbs. I am Matt Watson, and you're listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. We are fortunate enough to have Mayor Jason Gibbs in the studio with us this morning. So grateful that you're able to take some time to come in.
Matt, thank you.
Jason, you referenced it earlier. Tomorrow, November 18th, is the city's annual Light Up Main Street event.
Yes.
And I can't help but think there's got to be one or two people that might be listening that have never attended the event in the past. So can you kind of set it up for us? What can folks expect from Light Up the Main Street happening tomorrow afternoon?
Undoubtedly one of my favorite events of the year.
Yeah.
I'm a big holiday guy, so once mid-November hits, I stop getting the weird looks for playing the Christmas station on Sirius XM radio all year long, and I can fit in again.
Well, you can switch from Sirius over to KHTS because they've got all the holiday hits that we play through the holidays.
Matt, that was an amazing plug. So, Jerry, if you're listening, well done. Matt, that was wonderful.
Double my salary, Jerry.
Obviously, for us, it's a big event. Same thing. We close down Main Street. All the incredible vendors come out. We have all kinds of wonderful activities for families and for kids. Santa usually comes and pays a visit. There's usually snow and other games going on. And then down there by the library, we set up the stage. There's music playing, and then we have the big ceremony of welcome everybody to the holiday season. And we flip the switch, and we light up Main Street. We light up the wonderful tree down there at the library, and it runs all the way up and down Main. It's just another one of those, as former Councilmember Keller would say, it's mom and apple pie. It's all about community and family, togetherness and positive. And it's an amazing event. And usually we have thousands of people, so the rain needs to stay away tomorrow so that we do have thousands of people coming out and enjoying it.
Absolutely. The rain needs to stay away because it is an outdoor event. I'm excited about Sue Sings. Sue Sings is going to be out actually performing a couple of times. She's on the agenda, and then there's also a link to some of the work that she's done.
Matt, come on, tell us about Sue Sings.
Sue Sings is she's a fusion jazz holiday singer. She's got some great holiday hits. She's going to be performing for us here on Main Street, performing, like I said, 2 different times. And so I'm excited about Sue Sings. And the mayor is forecasting not rain tomorrow in Santa Clarita, but snow. So we are excited about that.
That's right. We can work with snow. It's the rain that can be problematic. Hey, but if Sue is singing, maybe we should roll out the modern day crooners we were talking about before, and you and I can start singing some classic hits.
Absolutely. What was it? Sue sings, Mayor Pickles sings. We won't get into your...
Mayor Pickles.
Yeah, I believe you were nicknamed Mayor Pickles.
I was.
By some of the local students in town recently.
I was. This whole, from my volunteer days when I volunteered in the kids' classes, they nicknamed me Mayor Pickles.
Absolutely, because nobody can be flippant like a first grader.
No.
Now, so Light Up Main Street going on tomorrow, November 18th. That's not the only event going on in town this weekend. The Boys and Girls Club doing amazing work with our youth in town. They're expanding all across the city, and they're hosting its annual Festival of Trees starting this evening, running through the weekend. Can we expect to see you there as well?
Absolutely. You'll see me there.
All right.
That Boys and Girls Club is probably the nearest and dearest to my heart because I grew up in the Boys and Girls Club.
All right.
In Santa Barbara, from the Goleta Club to the West Side clubs. My life was always there after school. And Festival of Trees is an amazing event. The trees that come out that they put out for auction to raise money for the club, they're stunning. And the spirit that's behind them, the warmth that's behind them, it's a wonderful event. I think it's tonight at C4.
Tonight
it's
at
over
C4, Canyon Country Community Center. That's 4 C's.
That's right, all 4 of them.
C4.
And then I believe they'll keep it open for the weekend so families can come in and see all the trees that were decorated, and they have wreaths, and they have the gingerbread houses, and there's a Minecraft house all bid on for the kids. And
Yep. Local philanthropist Denise Light. I saw her putting together. She's got a Barbie tree that is looking absolutely great. All kinds of thematic trees that you can bid on and use to adorn your house for the holidays.
I heard that she got a couple vintage Barbies that you used to have as a kid that your mom kept.
Yes, actually.
I think they were yours, right?
They actually they were not.
Were they Tony's? Now I'm just having fun.
It's actually they're some holiday edition Barbies that are actually quite valuable. So I'm expecting Denise's trees to get some pretty decent bids on there.
I should hope
got about a dozen years of special edition holiday Barbies still in the box. So check out Mom just sacrificing for the betterment of the Boys and Girls Club and the youth in our town. So we've got Light Up Main Street. We've got the Boys and Girls Club Festival of Trees. Are there any other ways? How do you and the rest of the family commemorate the holidays around town or in home?
So the 2 big ones obviously is the Winter Wonderland that goes up there in Saugus where they dress up that entire cul-de-sac.
Court,
Wakefield is amazing. Absolutely amazing. When we were once looking at houses, I said, Sean, I really want to come up here to Wakefield. Yeah. And she said, the traffic's terrible.
It is.
The holidays. But you know what? It's worth it. So we usually go at least 2 or 3 times.
All right.
Like a lot of people will park a couple blocks away, bring the hot chocolate in a wagon, and just see all the incredible lights and all the incredible festivities, all the different genres they bring out, the work that they do up there. I mean, that is the holiday spirit. It's a beautiful thing. So we always check that out. And then my big one, and I'm going to try to do it this year, is be at the senior center for Thanksgiving dinner and just be there to help, hand out food, say hellos, because Thanksgiving is about giving back. It's about helping those that don't have. And so that's the 2 big things that we really look forward to.
Beautiful. There's a couple of ways you can experience Wakefield. You're right. The traffic does get a little tough. So you just wait in line and crank up the Christmas carols or the holiday tunes on the radio, and give the kids some hot cocoa and in those non-spill mugs, of course. You don't want them spilling on the upholstery. Right. A buddy, a mutual friend of ours, Brian Kegley, taught me the real stylish way to do Wakefield Court is you get a limo and drive you up there, just drop you off at the corner, and then you text when you're ready to go, and you walk around. So there's that way to do it.
But the key is to get dropped off in a limo so you look legit, right?
But when you're a G like Brian Kegley, you can do that, right? You just
Brian's awesome.
Roll up and say, the crowds will part for you when you're walking with Brian.
That is true.
Kegley.
They're waiting to see who pops out.
Oh yeah,
I'm telling you, Matt Watson, Saugus Union School Board member, pops out. Woo!
They point and say, "Who's that guy with Kegley?"
Pretty much. They say the same thing about the mayor, as we learned from State of the City.
Absolutely.
It's okay. Humility is an important thing. This
Absolutely,
time
it is. It is. But Jason, it is not all gumdrops and roses around town, though. We still have our struggles and the day-to-day work to be done. For example, the bus drivers that serve our community have been on strike recently. You mentioned it earlier, and that's affecting a lot of students, workers, and many other in our community. And I know some of the striking drivers came to speak with you at a recent city council meeting. So how's the city dealing with that strike to maybe help mitigate the impact? And do you have any idea if there's a resolution near?
Sure. So this one's hard. As an elected official, it's been hard because there are things happening. There are discussions. There is talks. But as an elected official, for me to come out and take hard positions or give exact dates, it can mess with that process too. So it's one of those times where you really want to get out there and say things. But the one thing I will say is there are talks happening. It was announced at the Tuesday meeting. Our city manager made an announcement before a lot of the speakers came, and a lot were speaking about the strike, to say we are engaged. We are listening. There are discussions happening. I know they're coming back to the table. I feel good about it. And I feel like there will be resolution. I really do. And I'm not just saying that because I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I really do think we'll get there. But the one thing I do want to say to all of the bus drivers and to the strikers, they have been one of the most respectful groups I have ever seen. And I mean this sincerely. When we did, it's hard, right? We had the Metrolink station open, the big ribbon cutting for the new Metrolink station, and it opened in the middle of a strike. And they came to the event, but they were very respectful and kind. They were demonstrating for their cause, but they understand that we will get to a point where they are working again and they were with us again, and that this will be a part of their duty. They come to the council meetings. They are extremely respectful. They love this city, and they make that very clear. It has not been hostile. I have never felt like it's been hostile, and it's been nothing but respectful. And it really has meant a lot to us. And I think if people approach the world like that, even when there's grievances, even when there's just debates on contracts, when you come in it with the attitude of we're not here trying to be selfish, we are here trying to just fight for our community and be there for those that we take care of, I think elected officials and staff respond to that in a way that, yes, we do want to be there.
Yeah.
Because they're not coming at it from an aggressive or hateful standpoint. And honestly, it has meant so much to me. And so they, 40, 50 people come and speak, and they share what they're going through, but they always share a message of positivity.
That is beautiful.
It's been incredible.
Because there are, as you mentioned, there's other ways that could be handled. I recently stayed at a hotel. I was away on a conference, and some of the hotel workers were striking. And the way they chose to strike and present their grievances is every morning they would show up in front of the hotel about 5:45 a.m. with their drums and their bullhorns. And they demonstrated for about an hour and a half until everybody was awake, and then they went home. And so there are less than respectful ways to air your grievances. I love to hear that. And you mentioned, I don't always mention it on the air, that I do sit on one of the local school boards. And folks will express their concerns with us. And you're right. It is those folks who present their concerns in a respectful way, and what speaks volumes is those stories that people will share, and so that's always very, very important.
It is, because I always try to tell people we are still people. You and I still have families. We still have day jobs. And look, I get it. We sit in positions where we represent thousands upon thousands of people. And I always tell you have a much harder job than I do, because when you are dealing with the most important things in people's lives, which is their kids. What may consider be a small thing could be the biggest thing that impacts a family, and you will get the mamas and the papa bears out there coming at you strong. So my heart goes out to you. So, but I always tell people, even if you're angry and frustrated, if you can bring it back to a level of remembering that your elected officials are still people, they will listen harder. They will engage harder. But if you come at and attack, look, I still listen. I'll hear every word, and I'm engaged. But it gets harder and harder and harder, and you can feel the pullback. So I'm always catching myself. If I'm feeling myself pull back, I try to come back in, even if someone is angry, and try to know it comes from a positive place. But when people are coming at it from more of a positive stance, it's easier to engage faster.
Well, and it invites you. I want to come and sit down and really spend time with this person and hear what it is that they have to say.
Yes.
Speaking of which, not everybody. You mentioned not everybody in town even knows that we have a mayor.
Sure.
And not everybody knows how they can get involved and speak directly to you as mayor and the other city council members. How can folks, if they've got a concern, they think a traffic light should be put in, or they want to expand the Paseo system, or anything else that's on their mind, how can folks come and address you and the other members of city council?
Sure. I mean, obviously the easiest way is at a council meeting.
Right.
Usually every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, 6:00. we start, we usually have about 20 minutes of intro work and invocations, approve the agenda and the awards and recognitions, and it goes right into public participation.
Yeah.
3 minutes, you come and say whatever you like. So that's obviously the most direct way, but I always tell people, if you see me at an event, because I try to be everywhere, because as I've served as mayor and been on council, the one thing I've tried to do is be available.
Yeah.
And to be approachable and be found. I always tell people, I'll give them my number, and I'll say, text me your issue, but text it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times.
Okay.
You have to keep reaching out and just say, hey, I know you're busy, and I will get to it, and I get there. So and then email.
Yeah.
And we do see emails, and if you include the staff on it, especially when it has to do with a red light, or I want to see new striping, or I want to see a crosswalk added here. If you rope in the city manager as well, or the staff with us as well at the beginning, then they see that. And then just keep engaging. Just keep engaging, because remember, there's 25,000 people in Santa Clarita.
Yeah.
So your issue matters, and you just got to keep advocating for it.
He's not joking. Jason, I've actually witnessed you at an event where, when you finished, somebody actually approached you, and a gentleman in town, one of your neighbors, I believe, said, "Really? You're the mayor? Maybe you can help me with this issue that's really concerning me." And it was one of those things. Touched his children, and something that perhaps folks wouldn't have paid a bunch of attention to. But you said, yeah, absolutely, I think I can help with that. Here's my personal cell phone number. Not a whole lot of people do that, especially elected officials. And you really do approach your service in a very personable way that way.
I do. And you only get the 900 number. You got to pay to talk to me.
I do. But it's money well spent. Mayor Jason Gibbs, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Course.
I know you're busy, but well, you mentioned it before. You know that my mom makes me share my radio show.
I understand.
With my stupid big brother, and he's a lot to deal with, especially when it's just one-on-one. He's got some trivia questions and stuff like that. Do you think he can hang around a little bit longer?
Of course. I think I'm 0 for 2 now, Matt. So maybe the third time's the charm with you.
All righty. Well, Tony really lobbed a couple of softballs to Captain Diaz last week, so hopefully he'll do the same for you. Stick around for Big T's 5 Minutes of Fame. This is SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. I am Matt Watson with Mayor Jason Gibbs, and this is your hometown station, KHTS. Jen, my microphone wasn't on during that last bit, was it?
No, you're fine. No worries.
I'll fill everybody in on the
All right.
Facebook after.
There we go. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. I'm your host, Matt Watson. And now it is time for Big T's 5 Minutes of Fame. Y'all know Big T. Big T is an executive and philanthropist. He is an amazing father, husband, community leader, and dog dad. He is a world traveler, and he is Mayor Jason Gibbs' third favorite Watson. That's right. Here he is, everybody. He's Mom's favorite. Big T, welcome to the show.
Oh.
Big T, I said welcome to the show. There we are.
I got you.
How you doing, brother? We've got the mayor in studio this morning. Say hello to the mayor.
Good morning, Mayor Gibbs.
Hi, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Long time no talk.
Hey, I don't want to throw Matt under the bus, but during the break, he was very inappropriate about you. So if that can sway your questions at all, please feel free.
You should be careful. You never know when those microphones are on. Ask him about the joke that I told once on the air.
No,
We'll do that one off air too, Matt. Okay, we're good.
No, he's goofing off around that. But
Why are you blushing?
do ask me after the show ends.
All right.
All right. So, Mr. Mayor, you've played before. Just a reminder of the rules. We provided you with a buzzer. So Big T's going to throw out some trivia questions. Make sure you hit your buzzer to buzz in. It's not a physical buzzer.
Oh, got it.
You shout out your name. So I did ask Captain Diaz when he was in if he was going to go by Captain. Justin, I certainly didn't want to be. So how do you want to? Is your buzzer going to be
Pickles?
Pickles. All right, there
We'll
we
go
go.
Pickles.
It's certainly a lot easier to say than the Honorable Mr. Mayor Jason Gibbs.
It's a long one too.
All right, so you're going to go by Pickles. Jen, you can go by Jen if that makes it easy. For some reason, I'm going to go by Frogger. So you at home, you can get the drop on us because you don't have to shout out your name. You can just shout out the answer. See if you can beat us. But our mayor, he's a smart guy. I don't think you're going to be able to. Give it a shot. All right, Big T, what do you got?
Well, I can pretty much guarantee, and I'm glad I'm up here in Washington right now, because if Pickles, Big T, and Frogger were together, I would imagine that somebody's getting arrested.
Well, I ain't worried about the mayor getting arrested because I understand that he can pick some handcuffs in a hurry, so he'll be good.
Wow, nothing's sacred with you, is it, Matt?
Hey, so to kick it off, Maddie, I got Big T's Thanksgiving tips. We got Thanksgiving coming up next week.
Ooh,
So just 3 quick tips. Number one, you're going to be full after dinner, and you're going to be inclined to pass on dessert. But most people are going to be eating their meal about 2 o'clock. Come 10 o'clock, you're going to be a little hungry. So my advice would be to hit the dessert plate early, but stash it for later. If you wait for later, you're going to have the leftover apple pie. Get the good stuff early and stash it. Number 2 is the most underrated player on Thanksgiving is whoever's making the gravy. Keep them hydrated, rub their shoulders, tell them how nice they look, and you'll get some leftover gravy to go home. You might need it if that turkey's dry. And then lastly, and this is probably more for Carl Goldman, but purchase a $6 Cornish game hen before Thanksgiving, and when the cook's done and they step out of the kitchen, stuff that game hen inside the turkey and be close by when it gets carved so you can loudly announce that somebody cooked a pregnant turkey.
Oh, Lord.
Don't you screen these callers?
This is... Oh, good golly. I'm so glad we're spending the holiday apart this year, Tony.
I hear you. So, hey, Papa's 6-2. Papa's pick of the week is North Carolina, the 7.5 points. So he did not wear the L for the 2 weeks that we were gone.
Boy, is it fortunate for Papa that we were on hiatus a couple of weeks. All righty. So there you go, Mr. Mayor. North Carolina and the points.
Got it.
Let's step into some trivia.
All right.
What year did Santa Clarita become a city?
Pickles.
Oh,
Pickles.
1987.
1987 is
December
correct.
15th.
oh,
Number 2, who was Santa Clarita's first mayor?
Pickles.
Pickles.
Buck McKeon. Howard Buck McKeon.
Awesome. So Buck McKeon was part owner of a Western wear retail store in the valley that was a state.
Frogger.
Turn his microphone
Frogger, go
off.
ahead.
I'll try.
That would be Howard and Phil's, the store that won the West.
Howard and Phil's is correct. That was the name of the store he owned.
Tony, it took a lot of courage to be a girl named Phil.
Sure.
I do remember the
Or a boy
commercials.
named Sue.
Or a boy named Sue.
How do you do?
When the mall opened up, what 3 stores were their anchor stores, the big retail stores on the end?
Frogger. I believe it was Sears.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Macy's or Robinson's? I'm going Robinson's. And
Robinson's May, we'll give you that.
all right, and well, it was Robinson's before it was Rob May. The third one was, Victoria's Secrets.
That is incorrect. Mr. Mayor, you got it? Pickles or Jen?
Pickles or Mayor or Jen. I don't know what the third.
I would
JC
say
Penney?
for sure. Sears, Macy's,
Yeah, Sears and was it Sears, Macy's, and Robinson's May?
and probably J.C. Penney.
We got Frogger. You can decide who the point goes to. It was J.C. Penney. It was Sears, and it was May department store. Shortly thereafter, became Robinson's May, then Macy's.
That's like a third point for each of us.
Well, I'm going to give a half point to the two of you because, for me, it's all or nothing.
I mean, he keeps score, Jen. We're pretty much screwed
right.
on
Right?
that.
Exactly. I'm ahead 27-2, by the way.
Convenient.
Last Santa Clarita trivia. From 1966 to 1984, the Valley had a drive-in movie theater off Soledad.
Frogger.
What was this? Frogger.
It sounds a lot more nefarious than it was, but it was the old Mustang Drive-In.
Mustang Drive-In is correct.
I used to love, there was a batting cage right next door, and I used to love taking BP while I could watch but not hear the movies.
Hey, first time I saw Porky's the movie was at that batting cage.
Alrighty, here we go.
What country did the first Starbucks open up outside of North America?
Frogger.
Oh.
Frogger.
Got to be Colombia, right? We show them how to make coffee? No?
Incorrect. Anybody else?
Jen. France.
Incorrect.
Pickles.
Pickles.
Canada.
It was actually Japan.
Yeah, I was close.
Right.
You were close, yeah.
It was multiple choice. You only had 203 other countries to choose from.
That was going to be your next guess.
It
right?
was. Japan was next.
So Mayor Gibbs referenced The Greatest Generation earlier.
Yep.
Where were the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights stored during World War II?
Oh,
Frogger.
Frogger.
I'm going Fort Knox.
Fort Knox is correct. Nice pull,
That's a
Frogger.
great one.
That's where I'd have put him.
Tony, that's a great question.
What is the tiny piece at the end of a shoelace called?
Frogger.
Oh.
Frogger.
This is the kind of stuff I store in my head
great
besides
question.
useful stuff. I think it's a grommet.
Incorrect.
No,
No,
the grommet.
the grommet is like the metal piece
It's not the iLead,
that the
is it?
lace goes through.
The eyelet is the same as the grommet.
Yeah, see?
All right.
Is it just called a
The
piece
tip.
of plastic? Yeah.
Just call it the tip.
It's called an aglet.
And
Oh my, this is fascinating.
no, it's not.
Yes, it is. The aglet.
Oh, the producer Sarah had that one.
Who was the first televised president?
Oh,
Frogger.
Frogger.
Was it Eisenhower?
Incorrect.
Pickles.
Pickles.
Roosevelt?
FDR. That is correct.
Yeah, check
Ain't
it out.
no stopping us now. We're on the move.
Which company's slogan is "You're in good hands"?
Frogger.
Pickles.
Allstate. Oh.
So it turns out Jen's nickname is Allstate for the challenge.
There we go. That's a point for engineer
No,
Jen.
no, that wasn't fair.
That was awesome. I don't got time to call it. Just give me the answer.
That wasn't
was
totally
amazing.
fair. I won't take the point. I'm not playing correctly, but I was right.
Yes, you were.
I think we give her the point.
Give it.
All right, I'll take it.
Pocahontas was baptized and given what English name?
Frogger.
Frogger.
Sally.
Incorrect.
What an amazing.
Sally.
Sally Huntis. Anybody else?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't know she
That's-
had a different name. Yeah.
Rebecca.
Okay.
Rebecca. That's a beautiful name.
It sure is.
Shout out to
In
my firstborn.
2000
In 2009, what became the first Morse code character to be added since World War II?
Frogger.
Frogger.
2009. I'm going to say Omega.
Incorrect.
Pickles.
Pickles.
The at symbol.
That is correct. Nice pull, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Big T, we've got time for one more.
Awesome. What does SPF in sunscreen stand for?
Frogger.
Frogger.
Skin protection factor.
Incorrect.
Oh!
Oh.
Is
Pickles
it like
sun protection factor?
Pickles with the pull.
And Mayor Pickles with the win.
Hey,
With
the third
the
time's
win,
the
check it
charm.
out. All
Tony,
right.
you're my hero.
We do have to wrap it up. We'd like to thank our guest, Samin Davari with iLeadonline, Greg Lemley of Lemley Theaters, and his buddy, Jenny Shadle from the city of Santa Clarita, Mr. Santa Clarita himself, Mayor Jason Gibbs, producer Sarah, engineer Jen, Big T, and thank you for listening. Remember, friends, life is hard, but we're all here to help each other along. Be well and do good. Join us next Friday and every Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. I am Matt Watson, and this is SCVi, and I lead School's Eye on the Valley, on your hometown station, KHTS.